James.
Hi,
Welcome,
Kellee.
everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life After Death and Beyond.
Yes,
Great episode.
it
And
is.
how have you been, Kellee? Good?
I've been great, but I want you to tell everybody about your special weekend. You were bestowed an incredible honor.
Yes, I was given an honor by a center. It was a spiritual center in Orange County, California. And 25 years ago, and I heard a girl say, you have to contact my mother. And her mother, this lady was Sandy. I found her mother was reading with you. Would you mind if I come give you a reading? She goes, no. And I did. And her name is Tara. And she died. I don't know if it was a car accident. She died. And she said to her mother, I'm going to help you with a center, to open a center. I'm going to help you do that. And she helped her mother open up a center. And I was there to begin the center with her. And then it moved to several locations, finally ended up in Aliso Viejo in Orange County. And I've done workshops there. And they brought me back in for a special 25th anniversary. And they honored me with a Life Achievement Award for the work I've done. Wow. And that was on
so well deserved. It's a beautiful center, and you looked so fabulous. You loved what you were out wearing. Your outfit was great, and you were up there with so much love, and it just looked spectacular, James. Really well deserved. Congratulations.
Thanks, Kellee. It's a great place because it was just made of love. People do it from just compassion, and they give, and they just. That's what it's all about with them. And I love to work with that type of, vibration, as you know. So
right, I do. Well, I am so excited about tonight's guest. I mean,
we have a very special guest tonight, and we're very, very happy. And a world-renowned psychic, and you must have heard of him, Harry T. And Kellee, you want to tell everybody about him?
I'm going to tell you about him, but you know what's so exciting is I wonder what Harry T is going to be predicting tonight.
He's going to make some very, we'll see, interesting predictions for this, what's coming up.
Yes, it's just so exciting. So everybody, let me tell you a little bit about Harry T. Harry T is a media personality. He's an author. Can't wait to read his new book. He's a speaker. He's an MC. He's a spiritual teacher, and he's a celebrity psychic.
He has a great voice, great accent.
Great voice. He is the confidant of some of the most prestigious people in the world, actually. And he's an advisor to the Glitterati, which is very exciting considering we're from LA, or I'm from LA. This is very exciting to me.
What is the Glitterati, Kellee? Because I don't know.
Oh, the stars out there.
The stars
out there. And he's known as actually the psychic to the stars.
Yes.
Which is very fun. And he's also an activations announcer on the Rod Laver Arena in the Australian Open. He's the author of Energies of the Soul Oracle cards, and his new book, Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven, is available to order now. So please, everybody, let's welcome Harry T from Australia.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Welcome from down under.
You know what? From down under, from the future. It is Tuesday, the 7th of May here. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That's right. I love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Congratulations, Harry, on your new book.
Thank you so much. Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven. It's my brand new book. It's just come out. And
it's number one, you said. It's number one.
I was just telling you. Yes, I just found out yesterday. It's hit the charts at number one.
Wow.
I'm above Eckhart Tolle. Like, how did that happen? Like, that big book, The Power Is Now. I never thought that I'd be like number one above that. And I just got the stats. And I think it was because I was just on the Today Show. It boomed. And I literally just got the stats. And I posted about it on my Instagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But I'm number one. Who knows how long it'll last? That's what I'm saying.
I predict for a while.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
And it's really weird because this weekend I was talking to this friend that was here, a bunch of friends, and he said, have you ever heard of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle? And we were talking about it, and here you are talking about it. And I said, that's synchronicity meant to be. So
no way.
Happy returns and congratulations with that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it was a labor of love. It took a while. It actually began in 2018 in Los Angeles. And it was really ready to come out in 2020, but obviously we all know what happened in 2020. So I sort of detoured a little bit. I thought, you know what, maybe it's not the right time to release a book. So it sort of changed. And then, it was just there. It was all done. And then it was just sitting there. And my publisher said, you know what, it's time to sort of release this. So it literally was just like a click of the button. And it went to the printers. And then
tell us what it's about. Tell us a little bit about the summary of the book. Yeah.
Okay, so
What
feet
is
on the ground,
it about?
fingertips in heaven. Yep. Okay, so in short, it's spiritual reflections on life and beyond. So that's a really good summary of the book because it's my reflections on life and beyond. A lot of people, and the two of you would relate to this, they ask you questions about the subject matter, whether it be the psychic world, the mediumistic world, whether it be life after death, whether it be predictive energy. They ask us a lot of questions about that. So I kind of compiled a book that is not only a how-to guide, but it's also something that people can refer back to. Like it's a book that you can read again and again. And it really does inform people about my views on certain things because we all have different perspectives. I think, you know, no matter what or how long, I mean, the two of you, you know, you're such pioneers, but, you know, no matter how long you've been in the industry, I think everyone has a different spin on something. So
Sure.
I really like to come from a point of difference, and yeah, my book is different.
But
But
you know what, Harry? I think I think from this world of publishing, I think it always, and Kellee, you probably realize it'll find the people it's meant to find, and the right ones will read it. You know,
absolutely. But it's also part memoir as well because there are a lot of anecdotes in there that I share based on my experiences since I was, you know, a 3-year-old child. You know, up until now.
Tell everybody how you got started, Harry. How you realized your abilities, and when did it all start for you?
Great question, James. I feel like you've been asked that a lot. Well, I was really born this way. It was something that was all in my life. You know, it was not really discussed as a gift as such, but it was just more always there. And my parents really struggled with it. I recount that actually in the book quite extensively, how my dad especially did struggle with it because it is actually genetic. It does run in my family on my father's side, but he didn't really want it to. So it was one of those things that it was difficult. I had a lot of night terrors when I was growing up.
Really?
I couldn't sleep. Yeah, because just, you know, there were spirits, you know, floating through the walls and the ceiling. And it was just very, very scary because, you know, I didn't know what was really going on. And, you know, it was difficult. It wasn't easy. You know,
and you didn't have much support from your family then, I gather.
Well, it was hard. Well, actually, here's a story. LA and myself have a big connection because a lot of my family are from Los Angeles. So, you know, sometimes people think, oh, you know, oh, Harry just went to LA, you know, just because he, you know, wanted to go to LA. Well, actually, no. The majority of my father's family are actually born and raised in America, and they're from Los Angeles because I'm Armenian descent. And, you know, in LA, there's a big Armenian community. Huge. So for me, it was by default. You know, my cousins are born and raised in Los Angeles, Sherman Oaks. You know, so,
oh my gosh, in the valley.
In the valley, right? In the valley. So I had a lot to do with LA all my life. But anyway, my father called his aunt when I was about 5 years old and said, you know, my son needs an exorcism. And she was like, what do you want us to do? Find a priest in LA and exorcise him over the phone? Like, what do you want to do? So it was really hard. So then my dad shipped me off to live with my grandparents, which I did for several years up until about the age of 8. And they really taught me a lot of the biblical principles. And I felt like that really helped me because even though I didn't really understand it all, it just gave me a reference. You know, it was something that my grandparents trusted and they understood. And it just made me feel more comfortable with my gift. And it was really interesting, actually. I was able to turn it on and off. So I learned how to block to do. I just wanted to block it out because I didn't really want to know.
1982. Thank you very much. But one of the first.
That was before I was born, James.
I know.
Actually, I can beat that. 1957 LA.
That was before James was born. No, I'm kidding.
That's true.
The first people I hung out with in the psychic world were Armenians, and they used to do tea leaf reading, their tea leaf and coffee grounds, and I related to them. I felt I connect with these people on some level here. And this is before I knew anything psychically, but I just felt I know these people. So yeah, Armenians very psychic.
It's sort of in our tradition as well, you know, because the whole coffee cups and stuff, that's a normal thing for us. You know, after dinner, you'll have a look at the coffee grounds and you don't even have to necessarily be psychic to do that. It's really, really fascinating. It's sort of like an after dinner thing and it's very, very common. Yeah. So it was genetic. It was in my family. And my mother passed away when I was 14 years old, which was obviously a big thing. And for me, that was just it. That was just like, you know what? I know there's something to this, and I really utilized it. And
did your mother come to you as a guide?
I was just going to say that, Kellee. You had to, right?
It's funny you say that because the night that my mother passed, and I do tell this story in the book, so I feel comfortable talking about it. the night that she passed, she was actually a couple of years older than I am now. So, I mean, I'm 35, she was only 37. So she passed away a couple of years difference to me, which is almost like it checks your mortality a little bit. But anyway,
sure.
She was, you know, in the bed and she was very, very sick. And she actually said that she could feel her spirit leaving her body. So she knew that night she was going to pass away. And she was saying this like out loud, that her spirit was leaving her body. Anyway, that night that she passed away, I was in bed asleep, 14 years old. And I swear to God, I felt this and I saw this. My mother came into my room. She had passed, by the way, but I didn't know at that time. She had walked into the room and she lifted my blanket up.
Wow.
Because I must have kicked the blanket off. And she lifted my blanket up and kissed me on the cheek and said, "Good night, Harry, I'll always love you." I swear to God. And it was like it happened. It wasn't a vision. It happened. And I woke up thinking, oh, Mum's better. Like, you know, she came and visited. And my dad was like, "Harry, sit down. She passed away."
Wow.
So, yeah, so my mum's spirit literally, as soon as she left her body. By the way, this is really weird. While I was telling you that story, it was 11:11 on my clock.
Oh, wow.
Spirits
Yeah.
around.
Always a good sign.
Yeah, crazy. So yeah, so
And do you feel like she came to be your guide? Like when she's passed over, she's one of your guides?
I do feel her very strongly. Like sometimes I'll be driving and I'll think, you know, because remember, I never had a relationship with my mother as an adult.
Right.
You know, I never got to call my mum on the phone. I never got to, you know, email my mum or text my mum. I only had a child relationship with her. So I often wonder, what would my mum and I talk about now, adult to adult, you know? And I do feel like she responds to me in many ways when I have those thoughts. Yeah. So I
think
feel
she's very proud of you, Harry.
Yeah,
I think
me
she's
too.
very, very proud of you.
Thank you, Kellee. Thank you so much. Yeah, no,
and I
she
would
was an
think,
amazing
Harry,
woman.
I would think that it would help you so much when you're working with families who've lost their mother.
Well, I
think
went
you'd
through
be
it,
great
right?
for that.
Yeah, I went through it, and I feel like it gave me a heightened sense of empathy. You know, because it was something that I went through, and it was hard. It was really, really difficult. I mean, my father, who is one of my favorite people in the world, I love him to bits. He struggled with it. I mean, he was a young dad of, you know, became a single parent of 3 children, a widow, and you know, this was back in a time when it wasn't. I mean, now things have changed. Life is different now, right? You know, back then, you know, it was for my father to go do the grocery shopping. It was like unusual, you know. Yeah, so yeah, God bless him. He went through a lot, but it got us to be quite a close family. So I'm
How old were you, Harry, when you decided to come out as a psychic? And when did that happen? And was it a strong power that urged you? Was it what made you go public with all that?
Well, that's a great question. Also, it was all in my life, and it was something that after my mother passed away, I did my first reading when I was 15, and that's in the book as well. But I didn't really know it was a reading. I had a part-time job after school, and I would touch people's fingers, like, you know, they'd give me the money. This was when, you know, there was a thing of money. It wasn't just cards. Actually, I don't even remember if there was an FBOS machine then. Anyway, it was after school, and I would touch customers' fingers, and I would know things about them. And I remember saying to this woman, "Oh, you've got an amazing singing voice." And she kind of looked at me very strange and thought, "How do you know I love to sing?" And then she ended up auditioning on this show called Australian Idol. It was just all very like crazy. But anyway, it happened like that. And then I said, "Oh, you know, come to my place on the weekend and, you know, we can chat more about it." And my dad thought it was the most unusual thing that I have these strangers coming over to the house. And, you know, I said to him, "Well, they're customers from work, you know, from the part-time job I had. So it's not that weird." Anyway, he trusted me. And that's how I started in my family kitchen.
And then it became word of mouth, I would think, right? From word of mouth.
Yeah. Word of mouth. I actually wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't really think of this as a job as such. You know, and my father, in many ways, he probably stopped doing it recently, but up until maybe 5 years ago, he would always get a real job, you know. But it was not really something that I, you know, wanted to do. It was just in my life, right? So it was something that I used and helped many people with it. And it was word of mouth, James. It really was. I didn't, and you too would understand this. I didn't aspire to do it. I didn't aspire to be it. To be honest with you, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah. You know, if I had a choice.
I understand.
Right.
You get it. I know, that's what I'm saying. I know you would get this.
It's a calling. It's really a calling. It's your life's work. Yeah.
It's a calling. And I remember a woman I used to know, she passed away recently. And I kept in touch with her daughter, Anne Gaiman. I think I told you about this last time, James. I just
I know
remembered
Anne
now.
Gaiman, yes.
Yeah, we were talking about mutual friends. I just remembered. Yes, Anne Gaiman, I knew her for many years when I was younger. She was amazing. And she started quite young also. So whenever I would see her once or twice a year, she would always say to me, Harry, this is your vocation, let the ego go and let God take over. It's your calling. Because I would have times when I would just be like, Anne, I want to have fun in my life. People keep coming to me with their problems. I feel like I've got enough problems in my life. And she said, Harry, join the club, pull up a chair. We all went through that. And if it's your calling, you have to do this and serve spirit. And she told me that she went through a lot of similar things, because she was young and, quite fabulous herself. And I think she wanted, a normal life, but it wasn't to be like that. So, yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, Harry. What would you say to people that are beginning to explore their intuitive selves or the mediumship? What advice would you give to the 20-year-olds that are starting out or want to do the career? What would you say?
I would say relax. I would say relax, because we can work ourselves up so much and get in our own way. I would just say relax and trust the process, because it really is something that is beyond us. It really is. And, it's like your show name, which, by the way, congratulations on the brand new show. Loving it. Loving it. Honored to be, what, am I the second guest?
Yes,
you
are.
Yes.
Amazing. So I would say relax and just trust the process, because
you are.
This really does come through you. It doesn't necessarily come from you. And when you realize that, nothing gets in the way. You're just literally the medium.
Harry, how did you start making predictions? Walk us through that, and how did that begin for you?
Again, my whole life, I would open my mouth and say things and they would happen. And actually, that was also very difficult at school, because I think it was a bit witchy. Even though it wasn't witchy, it looked witchy, because I would say things and they would happen. And it would be like, well, what are you doing to make it happen? I'm like, well, nothing. I just know it's going to, So it was just always there. I could literally see things. And, I talk about the clairs in the book, the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. I'm very clairvoyant. So in my life, I literally can see things, and it's almost like moving images. And for everyone out there watching, if you picture your bedroom right now, just see your bedroom, you'll see it. That's how it comes to me. It's like mental images that will pop into my mind. And I almost need to decipher what I'm seeing. So sometimes it's the interpretation. That's the difficult thing. It's not the vision. I have no issue getting the visions. It's sometimes what they mean. I remember being in the States in 2016 when you had that big election with Trump and Clinton. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I remember being in California. And again, by the way, I don't like talking politics, but I'm using this as an example. And I remember seeing Hillary winning the votes. I remember seeing her winning the vote count. And again, I'm not endorsing one or the other, whatever. To be honest, I think politics, both sides are, anyway, whatever. So I remember seeing the vote count, and I remember thinking, oh, she's going to have a higher vote count. I could see it. And that did happen, but that doesn't mean that she's going to win.
Right.
So it's like that. You need to interpret it. So sometimes it's the interpretation. But it was all my life.
I have a couple of questions for you with your clairvoyance. So when you get a clairvoyant picture, do you find sometimes there's an emotional component every time, or sometimes not? And also time reference. Are you able to sense the time or not?
Very good question. Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Timing, I think, can be quite difficult, because time and space collapses when you do this work. So in many ways, time is an illusion, as death is an illusion, as is time. So I think it's difficult to put a time on things, because it's sort of very fluid. But sometimes you can. Like if you're meant to know, you will know.
You'll feel
you know what I mean? You'll feel it, you'll sense it. Yeah. I try to avoid, I have a lot of sort of health issues. So I sort of try to avoid sensing too much physically or emotionally. And I learned how to stop that. So my clairsentience is probably down the drain right now, because I was consciously trying to stop feeling things, because I did a podcast, was it last week or the week before, with a very famous couple here in Australia. And I know them quite well, and they're lovely people. Anyway, I had told one of them about a health issue that they had, and I remember being able to feel it. And she went to the
Yeah.
doctor and found out that I was right. She did have this problem and she needed to get it out. And on the podcast, she shared it, which is why I'm sharing it here. And she thanked me for it. And, you know, that just sort of made me realize it's not stuff that I enjoy, though, you know, because it can be very painful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it can be. When you
Sure.
start to make world predictions,
Mhm.
how does that work with you? Do you think about it before you say it? Do you?
Well, that's a great
Do
question
you write
as
a
well.
name down? Do you write a down or no?
That's a great question too. I think sometimes things will be triggered. So like I will, if someone asks me a question and response sort of occurs. So if I hear something, it's almost like a trigger for me. And that will sort of springboard into the vision, or sometimes I'll hear words. It's like I can hear words, I can make out what that means. But I can see very far ahead. So sometimes when I'm making world predictions, like when I wrote the book, I have a chapter called The World to Come, and I sort of just, you know, zoned out. And I had a candle there, and I just sort of looked at the candle flame. Not that I was trying to be Nostradamus, because I think he did that, but you know, I sort of looked at the candle flame just to sort of clear my head, you know, meditate. And you know, I just saw pictures, and you know, let's just pretend I saw something about you know, I don't know, smoking, let's just say, and I would see the smoke, and then I would think, okay, what does that mean? And that did happen, by the way. I remember seeing smoking, and I thought, what does smoking have to do with anything? And I remember thinking, oh, one day it'll not be legal to smoke. So, you know, things like that happen. So it's almost like a vision, and then I get words, and then I just piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Would you mind if we asked you to make some predictions?
Oh, of course. Story of my life, James.
But
Story of my life, James. Go for it.
what about world predictions, or whatever you feel you want?
Or maybe the royal family too?
Oh, the royal
royal
family.
family.
You know the royal family. You've done
The
work with
royal
the royal family.
I have done certain work with certain royals. So the royals are very topical right now. I think, you know, especially with everything that's going on in the world, you know, with them especially, they're so highlighted. Well, I think in many ways, you know, we are going to see a lot of issues with King Charles. I remember many years ago predicting that King Charles will be a short-lived king, like he won't have a long reign.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with him being older. I mean, look at the Queen; she was much older than him.
Right.
You know, Queen Elizabeth, you know, died a lot older than he is. But I remember doing a segment on the Today Show many years ago, and I said, you know what? I think if it goes to Charles, he'll be a short-lived king. So, and now he's got all these health issues with, which have come to public. So I do believe that he will be a short-lived king. I don't think he will reign for many years. It will be short. It'll go straight to William. Like William will be sort of like a young king, and he'll do very well. But I think, you know, Kate, who we
I was
all
just
love,
asking about Kate's health condition.
Kate, well, we all love her, right? She's an amazing woman. I think, unfortunately, she's going through a really hard time. You know, I know that, you know, whenever someone goes through health issues, it's one thing, but I think for Kate, what she's going through is so much, I think, worse than even what people think. So I do feel for her. I think, you know, health-wise, she's really struggling. I don't actually even think she's gone back to work. You know, I think she was meant to, and I don't think she has, because she's, you know, focusing on her health, which she needs to. But I think that's a challenge. I really do feel it's a challenge. I don't
Harry,
think
as
this
you're
is a little
saying that,
thing.
I want to ask you a question because it's kind of interesting, if you don't mind.
Yes.
When I first heard about her health, it felt to me like she was taking on the royal family's stuff and a lot of their energy and the generational stuff, and she was bringing that out. And I think maybe that's why her health was affected.
Well, you know, James, let me respond to that, if you don't mind. Her, in Vedic astrology, Kate's rising is Cancer. And so to what your point is, yes, taking on everything about responsibility. And my belief with her is that we choose our illnesses, we choose these kind of things before we incarnate. And I think that Cancer is very important in the world for healing. And I think she is going to be, I do believe she recovers from this, not today or tomorrow, but she will recover. And my prediction on Kate is that she will use this and become one of the greatest spokesmen for cancer that has ever happened.
I agree on that point.
And bringing out healing for everybody with it.
I feel the same. I feel that for her, she is going to really utilize this in a good way. And I think she's going to help a lot of people and definitely be a big spokeswoman. I was going to say spokesman, spokesperson, whatever. a spokeswoman for cancer, but also for women especially.
And I was going to say,
yeah,
don't you feel Diana around her helping her? Because I have chills
very
when I
much so.
say
I
that.
felt that too. Yeah.
Very much so. It was really interesting. I watched a news. Are the royals a big thing in the States? Because they're
Yes.
big
Yes.
here.
Yes. Very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was watching a news thing once, and I remember feeling like I don't think that's all I'm seeing. Like I remember feeling it. I didn't see it, but I felt it. Like I sensed it. I remember thinking there was more in that news broadcast than I knew. You know, Diana's in there. Like she was just so part of that family and very close to William and Kate. And I
think she picked them out. I think she picked the mates for both of them. I really, you know.
Well, I do. I mean, you know, then again, in saying that, you know, Prince Harry, I mean, he wrote a book too, a little bit different to my book.
Yes. What do you think of Harry?
Bit different to my book.
Yes.
Yeah, look,
I finished this book just recently.
yeah, you know.
What do you feel with Harry there? What do you predict with Harry?
You know what? I used to like him, and I please, you know, if anyone's a fan of his, please don't come for me about this. But I used to like him, but I don't know. I don't like how he's handled certain things. I remember when him and Meghan first got together, I was so excited. I remember being on Larry King's show actually, and I remember I predicted something about their baby, and it all happened, and blah blah blah. I predicted the date and what I can't remember, but it was something was so specific, and that all happened. So I feel like I was close to their story because I was, you know, in the media a lot about them. But then they sort of started doing things that I didn't really like, and you know, they moved to California for a private life, and you know, they were all over Oprah and Netflix for a private life. I don't know. I don't think what they say and what they do match. And I'm that type of person.
Do you think she's pushing him? Do you think she's in charge?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. I think she is more the driving force behind it. And I think I don't know. I just don't feel her intention was always in the right place. I really liked her at the beginning. I really liked her. And, you know, and it's not that I have necessarily an opinion of her anymore. It's not that I dislike her. I just think that when people don't say and do the same thing, I don't like when it doesn't match. You know, I'm one of those people, I don't care who you are. You could be a very famous person, you could be a royal. It doesn't really matter to me. If it doesn't marry, like if what you say and what you do don't match, that rings alarm bells to me. And
Harry, it's funny you say that, because when I was a little boy, and I tell this to everybody, I think kids are very honest. And the reason they learn distrust from the adults is because what they're seeing and feeling energetically doesn't match what the words are saying.
True. It's true. It's so true. And I think that's why I started to sort of get off them a little bit. And I sort of, you know, I just didn't like the things that they were saying and what they were doing. It just didn't match. And then, you know, I think, you know, Harry does have a lot of issues though deep down. I think he's gone through a lot, and I do feel for him, but they just need to take a different place. I think the way it's all sort of gone, it's not great. But I do predict that we will see more of them. You know, they're so private, but we will see a lot more of them.
Yeah. You think they'll move somewhere? You'll still stay in California? Will they move, or what do you think?
Well, they will. Look, it's a good question. I don't actually see them actually there forever, but I do see them following opportunities. You know, I do see them following opportunities. At the end of the day, they will milk this as much as they can, and they are. So we will see. You know, I actually think there'll be a movie or something come out, and you know, they'll probably want to star in it as well. But you know, whatever. But I think, look, I really do hope that Harry finds the help he needs, because he could benefit from a lot of help in his life. And yeah, fame isn't everything. And I think they're going to learn that the hard way. As much as they say they don't like it, they love it.
What do you think, Harry, about, besides royal family, the world situation, or whatever comes to you as far as predictions regarding the world situations, or
yeah, well, you know, the world, I mean, we are going through a lot, you know, in this world. It is, you know, trying times, but I do see like some unity coming together. You know, there will be some form of unity, which is always great. But, you know, I think I spoke about the smoking thing as an example. I think one day that will be illegal. I'm just going to throw random things at you that are like little sound bites. I also think one day there'll be a time when, and I have no idea how or when, but I had a vision of vehicles on the road no longer having collisions. So whether there'll be something made to sort of protect the cars from one another, almost like they'll repel one another. I can see this, almost like magnetically repel one another. I see it sort of stopping. Like I see it sort of stopping. So there'll be no more collisions one day. Like I see that stopping, which is really fascinating. What else can I see? I see well, this isn't a good thing, but I do see it. There'll be an increase of a lot of volcanic eruptions, volcanic episodes. So, it's funny. I wrote this in my book, and the other day I saw something about Iceland had a volcanic eruption, or the volcano erupting, and I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting, because I did write volcanoes that lay dormant, they're going to erupt again, which is not a great thing, because then, you get a lot of earthquakes, and that can also, lead to tsunamis and all of that stuff. So we will see an increase in natural disasters, unfortunately, but also in strange places. So in places that are not used to it. So let's just pretend you live in an environment that you're very used to it being, I don't know, let's just say hot or cold or whatever, because weather is changing, and you're not used to earthquakes. I think earthquakes will occur in those regions as well, because the world is really shifting physically as well as spiritually. And in some way, we do need to have all of the, catastrophic events for things to cleanse. It's almost like a cleansing period and a purging period for the world to be reborn. I really do see that.
What do you think about technology like AI? Anything happening with that, or any kind of new technology?
Good question. Yeah.
Oh, I think AI actually is going to be a very dangerous thing one day.
I agree.
I think it's going to be a very dangerous thing. I think a lot of people who are very pro AI, I mean, again, that's fine, but I actually think it's going to be one of the most dangerous parts in human society. Because with AI, we will see a lot of cyber warfare, a lot of cyber attacks, a lot of cyber things increasing. And I don't think it's going to be very good for humanity. As much as everyone is so excited by AI, it's a big thing now. We will one day see it being like, oops, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
I think wars will start from it. I do. I think wars.
That's why I think cyber warfare. I see that. I see that sort of leading to nations being against one another. And AI is scary because it can sort of put anything to anything, a voice, a name, a picture. And as we all on this screen know, there are so many impersonators of us. How many times have there been fake accounts pretending to be us, messaging people and saying, hi, I'm Harry, I'd like to meet you, or hi, I'm James, I'd like to give you it's not us, and that's not even AI. So imagine, when you bring all that, it can be quite scary.
Wow.
Yeah. We need to get back to basics. I feel like we need to get back to basics. Even a pen, like I've got a pen, right? Literally, I write everything with a pen. And people always say to me, but you've got an iPhone, right? Like you have an iPhone. And, just use your, I'm like, no, but I like writing things down, a pen and the diary. I like being a little bit old school. Yep. And that, I think, is what is lacking in the world. If we can get back to basics, I think, we will see a different world and it will be better. You
think we're going to have a World War III?
I hate to say this, but I do think we are.
Yeah. Kellee and I have agreed on that.
Yes, unfortunately, I do see that. And, I see a lot of like nations like changing, like maps being redrawn and all of that. Yeah, the world will be a very different world.
Do you have dreams like that, Harry? Do you have dreams like that where you see a map?
Yeah, like nightmares. I do. And I do see maps changing and nations changing, and they'll be redrawn. And it's interesting though, because continents moving and the whole, I see a lot of different things in the geography of our world, and that will happen.
As you're saying that, I just got to hit on, there's going to be a new League of Nations, whatever that means. Like the United Nations is going to change, and they're going to have new kind of a organization, if you will. As you were saying that.
Well, one day, James, I think that we will be known. I think I wrote this in my book. We will be known as something like Earthlings or Earthians or something like that, where we're sort of like a collective global society, as opposed to being individualized. You know how some people are Americans, some people are Australians, some people are Japanese. I don't see that as such. I see people being more referred to one day as, Earthlings or Earthians. I see that because I do believe in extraterrestrials as well. Totally. And I think, we will actually see a rise in the UFO sightings, but also actually UFO landings as well. Like I had a vision, and it was a very big city, very popular city. I don't know which one it was, but it had a lot of lights, so it was popular. So it was a big city.
Maybe
And there was,
Vegas. Perfect.
well, yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yes, I could.
So could I, actually. And people probably in Vegas just walk past that like, oh, that is so cool.
But you know what, Harry? I think, Kellee, I think that it's going to be a time when that does happen, when people are ready for it, when the earthlings or people are ready for that awareness, that consciousness.
It's an
I think it's
awakening.
changing quickly, James. I think in the next
It
couple
is.
of years we will see that actually.
Well, it's changing. It is changing very quickly, and we will see like a UFO landing. I definitely see that, and you know, I do believe that to differentiate, we will be sort of more known as Earthlings or Earthians. I don't know when that is, but I can see that happening.
I like that title, Earthians. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, I don't know how that did come to me, but whether it is that or something like that, we will be known as something like that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And what about health issues as far as generally with the world? Anything?
Great question. Great question. I do see.
Trying, Harry, I'm trying.
Yeah. James, you've done this before. I've got good news in that front. I see actually great medical breakthroughs. Actually, in not the distant future, in cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, like those sorts of things. I like even viruses. I have a good feeling about where we're going health-wise with the world, you know, about finding cures, about finding preventatives and all of that stuff. So I've got a good feeling about that. But on the flip side, I also see illnesses increasing. So as much as I see breakthroughs and great things happening and emerging about incurable diseases, I also see people having an increase of diseases. So I almost wonder if that's why there will be more breakthroughs, because there'll be so many more numbers or so many more increases in health problems that maybe science and, you know, the medical industry will think, okay, there's a surge in all of this. We need to really, you know, not necessarily try harder because they try, but we need to, you know, look at different avenues. And I think that's how we'll have a lot more breakthroughs. So
as you're saying that, Harry, forgive me for interrupting, but as you say that, it's like download. It was like as you're saying, I think a lot more plant medicine, more nature.
Yes.
But then I think when you talk about that illnesses, I think there might be some illnesses or diseases that we've never seen before come out of this.
Absolutely. But it's funny you mentioned the plants and, you know, medicine and all of that, because I actually also agree that foods will be different and certain foods will affect us differently. And I believe that, you know, plants, it's funny you mentioned plants, because I do see plants, maybe it's a new plant, I don't know, being able to sort of react to health issues as well. So, yeah, so whether, I don't know what plant it is, but, you know, I think there'll be one created, and whether it helps people with epilepsy or seizures or something, there'll be some plant that will be invented or created, and I think it will help people with their health issues.
But
and you know what
always provides us, you know, nature always provides it. We just got to be able to find it.
Well, in nature, there is something for something, or everything for everything.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
like attracts life.
Like
in homeopathy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think what I was going to say about health, I also see a huge increase in magnetic healing. So I think magnets will be playing a big role in the world, not only in physicality but also in health.
Well, what do you think about Reiki with that as well?
I think it ties in.
Yeah.
I think it ties in. I think, you know, Reiki, holistic healing, you know, all of that stuff, which many spiritualists have been, you know, very pro for a long time. Yeah. I think science and, you know, modern medicine is catching up on, and it will marry together. It will marry up, because at the end of the day, you know, you will get a merging of holistic medicine and as well as Western medicine and all of that. I think there'll be a merging of that. So we will see that.
I hate to interrupt, but I just spit this out if it comes fast. As you're speaking, you said the magnetics. I just got to hit that. There's going to be, like you said, magnetic energy, and it's going to change brain waves.
I believe that. I believe that.
Wow, James.
I believe that. I believe that. I do believe that, James.
Yeah.
Which would be great. You know, some people will use their brains more.
Well, and that could help with trauma too.
It would.
Yeah.
It would be very beneficial. You know, people who have gone through a lot, I think, will benefit a lot from magnets one day. We will see that. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, by the way, you were talking about foods in nature. I don't know. By the way, hi everyone that is watching. I'm so glad that you are all watching. I think when it comes to nature and food, if you look at certain foods, how it can even resemble body parts. For example, a walnut looks like a brain, and it's brain food. A strawberry, it's heart food. If you cut it, it looks like a heart. There are a carrot. If you cut a carrot, it looks like the iris of an eye, and it's eye food. It's so interesting because it's almost like God, our creator. Which, by the way, I do believe in God, and I think I speak about that a lot in my book. And I say, if you are more comfortable with creator, universe, whatever, there's definitely a higher power.
Yeah.
The creator of the created. I think intended for certain things to think, what, that could help us. Like there are signs everywhere, and I think that's true even for nature and food.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think, Kellee and Harry, about this? It's just, again, it's hitting me as you're talking, because I think, Harry, just open up this door and it comes in.
Yes.
Cancer is the result of wrong thinking. What do you feel about
I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination. My mother, for example, had ovarian cancer, and that was at a time when it was like, not spoken about. But I think because cancer is really cells that have just gone insane. So if you think of cancer as, well, actually, it's sort of within everyone in a way, because everyone has cells in their body. And it's just the way that cells sort of no longer cooperate with one another. So it's almost like they, think, what, I'm just going to go over here and multiply and create my own army. That's actually what happens. So I think it's not only a physical thing, but I think it's also mental. And I also think it is also spiritual. So it's mind, body, and spirit. It coexists.
And it also goes back to certain traumas that people would have had, and it also goes back to generational traumas.
I was going to say, generational.
Yeah.
Generational. But you know what I have found, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I truly have found that the soul can never be sick. So even though mind, body, and spirit, it's all connected, I have never seen a soul that has had disease. Because the body and the mind can fail you, but the soul cannot, and I think that's why, obviously, there is life after death, but moving that aside, even in this world, no matter what you go through health-wise or, trauma-wise, whatever that may be, please remember that the soul will never fail you. Your spirit, how sometimes you meet people and they're really sick, but their spirit is still so alive?
Yeah.
It's almost like they get it. The soul really, it can never fail you.
Well, the soul's not physical. The soul's not physical.
It's not physical. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So all these issues are really physical. So when you sort of realize that, I think you can overcome things. But then there are things that we can't overcome because it's part of our chart. It's part of our
and it's part of our learning. It's part of our learning here.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here to grow and learn, isn't it? And sometimes not only for ourselves, but also for those in our lives. If my mother didn't die at such a young age, I may not be here on this screen chatting to the two of you.
Exactly.
Very true.
So I might not have met any of you fabulous people out there.
Harry, what do you see for yourself as far as future? I know what you might desire or want, and then what do you feel might happen?
Well, I'm looking forward to just waking up every day, to be honest. I try not to look at my own life that much because one, a lot of things go backwards for me. Like I might think something and it's the opposite. It goes backwards.
Really?
Actually, I remember Larry King asked me this on his show. He said, "Do you psychic yourself?" And I said to him, "No, I can't, because everything goes backwards for me." But
what
also,
does that mean, Harry? What do you mean by backwards?
Well, okay, let's just pretend I saw a vegetarian meal. It will come full meat. Does that make sense? It's literally backwards for me. I can't make things out for myself to save my life. But I think that's good because sometimes, sometimes, things that I thought have been like, oh my gosh. And
But
it's like
you do
totally
pay
the
your
opposite.
attention to your own intuition, though.
That's very different. That's
Yeah.
very different, because when you follow your intuition, you make good choices and you make good decisions. But when you look at your psychic ability to predict things, it's very different. So I always follow my instincts, my intuition. It never lets me down. That never goes backwards. That always serves me well. But when I try to look at things psychically, it always goes backwards. So I can't. And I try not to anyway, because I'm sort of, I like to live in the moment.
Yep.
And as psychic as I am, I really do like being in the now. Yeah, it's actually my favorite word. I love now. I love the word now.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Kelly, what about you? You can't read yourself, can you, Kelly?
Oh gosh, no.
I
No,
can.
No.
Yeah,
And in fact,
see?
if I have some intuition or if I have some vision of something, I always have to ask myself, is this for me? Is this for somebody else? Who's this? I have to really check it before I even go on with it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
Harry, I
hard to
have
do
a
it for
question
yourself.
for you. A good question.
Yes, of course.
Another good question for you, Harry. So, what do you prefer? Do you prefer working in the mediumship
I
energy,
knew you were
or
going
the
to ask
psychic,
me that.
or the psych? Because you're
Great
psychic.
I
question.
knew he
Yeah.
was going to ask me that.
Energy.
Call
Which
me,
one do you
call me
prefer?
psychic. Call me psychic. It changes, James. It changes. It changes. Once upon a time, I preferred the medium aspect. I definitely preferred the medium aspect. But now if you ask me, I think I prefer the psychic aspect. But it changes. It changes because I do both, right? So sometimes, for example, when I'm with someone, normally it'll merge, so you'll get both. So I call it sort of like a hybrid. You know, it's like a psychic and a medium. So I sort of think a psychic medium. But yeah, it changes.
I guess it goes to the need of your client, I guess, right?
But I also think it's also with what I'm going through in my life. So, for example, I find mediumship very draining.
Yes.
I'm really good at it, but I find it very draining. So I think, I've done stage shows. Again, James, you've done this a million times. So talking about this stuff to you is probably like looking at your hand. But, whenever I've done like large stage shows and I've had, 500 people in the audience, I've done amazing shows, and they're on YouTube and you watch them and I even get blown away by them. Like, oh my gosh, how did that come through?
Yeah.
And that's how I know it's not from me, it's through me.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is just because you're good at something doesn't mean it necessarily always afterwards feels good for you. So like after a big show like that, I'm on a high, I'm on a buzz, but then I'm exhausted. And I remember Anne Gaiman used to say to me, it should never drain you. And I used to say to her, but it does. It does. Like in the moment, I'm energized.
Right.
I'm really energized. I'm never drained during it. It's afterwards that I cop it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So what do you do to revive yourself? Let's say if you had a day of psychic readings, you might get tired. What do you do to revive yourself?
I have a good shower. Like I make sure I have a good shower. That really helps.
I understand that. Yep.
Yeah, I think that really helps. That it sort of cleanses the energy. But I also think food helps. So certain foods like carbohydrates, like pasta, rice, potatoes, anything that's like a carb really does help me. It sort of grounds me. And, I do love my sage, but my apartment is quite small and sort of lingers. So I try not to sage that much anymore. But I think really a shower for me is the best thing.
I like red meat. I like red meat. Funny enough,
meat as well.
And a vodka martini would be great too.
Yeah, I've seen you do both, James.
That's my grounding, and that really helps me.
He's had a night of spirits, and then he continues with it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Grounds me. It just makes me feel back to
it does.
normal.
Do you know? Even like if you like meat. Even like pizza is good because if you think about it, you can get meat and you can also get the carbohydrate. Because I for some reason find carbs very grounding. But also meat. Let's just say I've eaten meat. I struggle doing a reading if I've got a full stomach.
Yes.
Right.
Kelly, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I
almost
do it afterwards.
I almost think there's a secret in fasting or in like.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. To do the reading, and then afterwards you do the opposite. You think, okay, let's just stuff our face.
Yes, yeah. I find a little bit of protein helps along the way.
Let me ask you, what's next on you for the book? Your book just came out.
My book just came out.
Are you doing a book tour?
I've just come back from okay. So I think Renee, did I send you the link to share with you? I think I did. So this is my new book, Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven. Please order it.
Fingertips in
Heaven. I would love you to order the book. it's definitely something that's really highlighted right now in my life, obviously. I've just got back from doing a lot of press about the book. So I was just on a media circuit where I was like on the Today Show and all these big shows talking about it, which of course made it #1. I have to share with everybody.
Good. Very
it's
good.
My book, which I'm blown away by. So the book, which is a bestseller now, which I can't believe it. And I said to James and Kellee, who knows how long this will last? So I'm going to run with it while it happens.
Enjoy the now, Harry. Enjoy the now.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And I really am. And it hit the charts, and it's charting in every single book charts in all the genres. And in the spirituality category in Australia, it's #1. And like when I saw my book and there was Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. How funny. Look at we're talking about now, Power of Now. Right. And my book was above that. I couldn't believe it. I actually was pinching myself thinking, is that real? And yeah, this just came out yesterday. So I'm very, very grateful to everybody who has ordered the book, who has been supportive of the book. James, we had a mutual friend who wrote the foreword to the book. Who
tell him the story, because it's a pretty funny story.
It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
So, this book, Feet on the Ground, Fingertips in Heaven, I started writing it in 2018, and it sort of came about in Larry King's home. So I was in the kitchen. Right. So we were talking about, and Larry said, you've got to write a book. All the psychics have books. You've got to write a book. And he actually said, I'll write the foreword to it. And it was me, it was his wife, it was Sean, it was Larry, it was our friend Donna. We were all in the kitchen, and I'm like, yeah. So I literally went from the kitchen to the dining room and started writing it that night. And he wrote a foreword, and I'll show you. It was a very not short. Larry, you knew him. It was short and sweet,
I knew very well.
Short
it was funny because I said to Harry, "Did you channel this?" Because I didn't know he was alive.
Remember? Because he passed away. And I said to James, if I had channeled, it would have been longer. It would have been very different. But anyway, that's fine. But no, Larry wrote the foreword, and I think it's so special that we kept it, because I had a moment of thinking, do I take it out now that he's passed away? Because he passed away before the release. But we decided, we all had a conversation. It almost became more special because the subject matter that it deals with. So it almost became more special. But in saying that, I did get another friend of mine to write the introduction to it, because I kind of thought, okay, it's amazing that I had Larry's support with it, but I probably should get someone who's still here who can help me talk about it too. So my really good friend Natalie Imbruglia, she's a singer. She wrote the introduction to it, so it made sense. And the book is doing really well. So please order my book.
What else do you see for yourself? Are you going to be going touring in the States? Are you going to be having a TV show? Is there a movie coming your way, which I think there is?
My gosh, James! If there is, you've got to be in it. Can you be in it? Can you be in it?
Sure.
Because do you know what? It's really funny. People won't believe this, but I'm actually really introverted. I know it looks like I'm super extroverted, and in many ways I am when I need to be, but I'm a total introvert.
I think we all are, Harry. I think Kellee is. I am. Yeah.
I really am. And people always think, no, what? Honest to God, I am. So, I sort of like to be on my own. I love my own company. I sort of shy away from going out. Yeah. So even like right now, I'm really on and I'm really energized. But then after this, it's the morning, so I've got things to do. But I'll be very silent all day, and I'll be in my own little world. So I try to stay away from all that. There are talks of a TV show around me. It's funny you say that. I'm in two minds about it. I will tell you an exclusive. I actually, before COVID, Kellee, I think I was telling you this one day. I was in the States, and I had meetings with the people who did Hollywood Medium, and they were great, really, really lovely people. And I nearly scored my own show. I signed contracts. I did screening with the networks. It was all amazing. And Tyler's fabulous. I love him. I've met him. He's really nice. But I nearly scored my own TV show, and then COVID happened. And then I came back to Melbourne, which, by the way, was the most lockdown city on the planet. For people who don't know, we pretty much had 3 years of COVID. I mean, it was no exaggeration. We were locked down like it was beyond you can even think. Just think about it. Like it changed everything. So I lost that TV deal through that, which was totally fine. I didn't.
Something else will come your way, Harry.
Yeah,
something else.
Do you know what, James?
Movie too. There's going to be a movie. I know that.
But do you know what, James? Honestly, I really genuinely, when that opportunity came about, and I was excited by it because I thought, I'm going to have my own show. It's going to change my life. When I lost that, I was with an ex-partner at the time. I was in a relationship at the time. I remember saying to them, you know what? I'm totally fine with this. Not only will something else happen for me, I think it made me a better person because, one, I'm a lot older now, right? Older and wiser. And two, it humbles you. It humbles you because it shows you how something can come so easily, but easy come, easy go.
That's right.
You know? So I learned it, you know what? So I kind of didn't take things too seriously anymore. So you know what, if a show, which it's sort of back in the works at the moment, you know, there's talks of it again, if it happens, great, and if it doesn't, you know what, also great. I'm happy with my green tea, which by the way I forgot to drink. I've made it though. I'm happy with my green tea and, you know, writing things down with my pen and paper and just being in the now, to be honest.
Well, thanks, Harry. We got to go because we're running out of time here.
Thank you so much for having
Harry.
me.
I'm
Thanks,
so glad you were
Harry.
on tonight, Harry. It was great
Stick
to see
around
you,
for
honey.
you. Have it, everybody. Harry, it's great.
Get
to
Harry's
see you.
book.
Thank you, please. I'll have to come back. I'll have to come back.
Yes.
Please, anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.